Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. Welcome back to Musically Sound, music review show. As always, I'm your host, the Mastodon. On today's episode, the Beatles, Abbey Road. This is my favorite Beatles album. Lyrically, it's outstanding. Heavy moments at time, melodic. Unknown to a lot of people, this is actually supposed to be their last album. Despite the fact that Let It Be came out after. Let It Be was hampered with recording issues and editing issues, and the fact that the band was in the process of breaking up. This album had basically was being recorded in the process of the breakup, and I believe, if memory served me right, it was decided that Let It Be should be their final album, as majority of it was recorded before infighting had begun. Before I get into the album, a little background on the Beatles. The Beatles formed in the late 1950s in Liverpool out of the Quarrymen by members John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Pete Best. Pete Best would later be replaced by Ringo Starr, as we know, and the rest, as they say, is history. My first introduction to the Beatles was a 45 that my mom had. Was Hello Goodbye, and the B-side was I Am the Walrus. Now, a lot of people, their first introduction is you can't miss it. It's I Want to Hold Your Hand. My introduction was I Am the Walrus, which is from the Magical Mystery Tour. A lot of that early stuff I'm not as fond of. Everything after Rubber Soul and more so the Revolver album is more to my liking. It's a lot heavier, it's cleaner, less poppy. But this album, it's undeniable, and the little tale of barefoot Paul McCartney. There was a rumor that had started that Paul was dead, and that was symbolic of his death. Little known trivia to some people. The album starts off with Come Together, which is a strange song. Here Come On Flatfoot, He Got Bongy Finger. Just a weird lyric, and it was later covered brilliantly by Aerosmith. Each member of the band had their own imprint on this album. Something, a great George Harrison track. Maxwell Silverhammer, very hype. Maxwell Silverhammer Came Down on His Head, a great John Lennon track. Oh Darlin', another great bluesy John Lennon track. Octopus's Garden, I'm not all that fond of, but that's out of Ringo Starr's repertoire. It's very I would liken it to Yellow Submarine, because it's got that same kind of style, same idea of storytelling. I Want You, for me, is probably my favorite song on the album. I Want You, She's So Heavy. It's absolutely heavy. Then they followed up with Here Comes the Sun, Doo 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 doo, here comes the sun. Because, which is a very melodic choral song. You Never Give Me Your Money, very good Paul McCartney track. Followed by The Sun King and Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam, which in their own right, these three songs could be part of almost an epic, like a little 3-part song. She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, which was brilliantly covered by Joe Cocker. I definitely recommend checking out his version. Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, boy, you got to carry that weight. The End and Her Majesty, just a great album. Excellent lyrically, musically excellent. I couldn't have asked for a more iconic cover. Probably top 10 most iconic covers. And I rate this album an 8.5 out of 10. Just an absolute great album. Other albums I would recommend are the White Album, just for certain musical appeal, not because it is touted by some members of maybe the media or whatever, but it is actually a decent album in its own regard. Magical Mystery Tour and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band are both excellent albums, excellent Beatles albums. I know a lot of people that Beatles aren't their thing, which is fine, but as I said before, keep an open mind, listen to the album, and then judge it. Don't go off of their earlier stuff, their earlier poppier stuff. I know a lot of people feel that the Beatles are overhyped, which may very well be so, but as I said, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind with any album. Again, Beatles, Abbey Road, great album. Came out in 1969. Go check it out. And in the meantime, get out there and listen to some music.